My name's Wendy Nicholson. I am not a medical doctor and I'm not a dietitian, but I have almost 40 years experience studying diets, being on diets, reading everything I could to try to solve my dieting dilemma. I was a yo-yo dieter and I was addicted to sugar and carbs. Now, many of you may be like that, where you have been on lots of diets and you cannot find anything that worked. This was so frustrating. This took up so much of my mental energy over the last 40 years. And only in the last 2 years, since I lost the 80 pounds and maintained the weight loss, have I found that I don't think about food like I used to. I'm not in the kitchen as much as I was used to. I'm not cooking as much as I used to. I am just not as into the food and the body issues that I used to have. I don't have the body issues that I used to have. I used to think, and I used to judge people who seemed to be skinny their whole life and think, oh, well, they're just obsessed with their bodies, or it must be nice to not have to go on yo-yo diets. And I realize now I don't think about my body as much as I did when I was overweight, when I was yo-yo dieting. It was on my mind every single day. I was so obsessed with it and I could not figure out the solution. I tried everything, and everything, I mean everything. There was not a day that went by since age 12 that I had not thought about my weight, been self-conscious of myself when I walked out the door, wondering if clothes fit me, wondering if I was going to go off this diet again. Why weren't the diets working? So this has been a lifelong journey for me. And finally, I found a solution that worked. It is mind-blowing still. I'm still amazed. Every single day I get to wake up. I have never been happier. I feel like I've never been healthier. I am eating healthier now than I have ever done in my whole life in the last 2 years. It's not perfect. It's about 95% clean in terms of clean eating, but it is such a relief. I walk out the door, I am not wondering, how do my clothes fit me? I'm wearing the same clothes. It's amazing. I'm wearing the same clothes for 2 years. I have never been able to do this. I have had so many different sizes in my wardrobe, so many different types of clothes. Now I literally just put on the same clothes. I'm actually wearing out clothes because I'm wearing the same clothes instead of going up and down and having so many clothes in my wardrobe. So there's just so many benefits. It's hard to stop talking about this because every day is a new discovery of how life can be different. And I didn't know life could be different. It's that issue where if you don't know the question to ask, then you don't know the answer because you don't know what to ask. And until you've been there, until you've walked in those shoes, you don't know what it's like. I didn't know what it was like. I didn't know what it was like to maintain the same weight for 2 years. Not even 6 months, I couldn't ever maintain the same weight. I was on and off the weigh scale. I was measuring myself, letting the measuring tape judge me, or allowing it to make me feel bad if I had gained an inch. Or if I was on the weigh scale, I would let the weigh scale judge me, or I felt like it was judging me. It just doesn't even matter anymore. I have so many habits that I have worked on when I was losing the 80 pounds and being able to maintain that. Those habits are so much a part of my life now that I know I can keep maintaining it. I'm still learning, I'm still tweaking it, and I'm still trying to get a hold of my sugar and carb addiction, but I've figured ways to work around it when I feel like I am going to binge eat again with my eating disorders, or I feel that body dysmorphia coming on because I've had a mild case of anorexia for probably since age 12. I have 2 other eating disorders that I have to deal with. Those are never going to go away because I feel it's a mental issue and I had food traumas in the past. And so I'm living with them. I'm not recovering completely, and I don't know if I can ever recover completely. Maybe if I lived in a hut in the middle of nowhere and all the food was delivered to me and I was only allowed to eat a certain amount of food, maybe that's called recovery. That's not reality. I have to go grocery shopping. I have to decide what goes in the grocery cart. I have to decide what goes in the fridge, what goes in the cupboards, what I cook, what I bake, what I eat at a restaurant, and what I choose to put in my body. It's very much all on my shoulders. And that's okay, because I can trust myself now. I have learned techniques. I wrote about all of these in my book, but I've even learned more things. So I'm starting my second book. I've got 2 workbooks also, if you want to find them on Amazon. And so as I go through this process, as I learn what it's like to be a recovering yo-yo dieter, I can say that. I don't know if I'm truly a recovering sugar addict, but I'm a recovering yo-yo dieter because I'm actually not yo-yo dieting anymore. So that one I can actually say. But I will say that this has completely changed my life. When I made the tagline for my business, it is transform your body, transform your life. Now, when I was making that tagline, I had some input and they said, well, isn't the word transform usually related to fitness? And yes, it is. And maybe people will think, oh, well, this is a typical calories in, calories out, exercise more, eat less kind of a diet or diet program or weight loss program. It's not that at all. It is not the same as other diets. And I know because I've been on all those other diets. If you look back at your life, what are you an expert in? It's something you've done the most of. The one thing I have done the most of in my whole life consistently is diet. Trying to lose weight, trying to figure this out. So I am an expert yo-yo dieter. Now I want to be an expert at maintaining my weight loss. It's a new goal. And so far I'm an expert in it, partially an expert in it, in that I've not quite made my 10,000 hours. I don't think I'll live 40 more years. I'm 53 right now. If I get to, that will be awesome. Now I'm adding up time on this side of the yo-yo dieting. There are 3 things that really made a difference. There are hundreds of things that made a difference, but 3 things that really made a difference this time around and why I ended my yo-yo dieting cycles. One of them is on the wall behind me. You'll probably seen this through my hair here. One of them related to charting daily something. Now, people who talk about goal setting, Brian Tracy, Jim Rohn, all of these people I've learned from, many people I've learned from about goal setting. And when you have a goal, you plan it out. If you have a goal without a plan, it's just a dream. It never comes true. For me, I had to figure out, how can I implement goal setting into losing weight? Can I even implement it into losing weight? And because I was learning from all kinds of different doctors online, Dr. Jason Fung was the first person who introduced me to intermittent fasting. And as I was learning about that and learning about how much our body needs every day to just exist, then I figured out how to figure out my end date. If I could average around 5 pounds a month, and at that point I had about 50 pounds more to lose. 5 pounds a month is 10 months. Okay, so let me figure out, when is 10 months from today? I made a chart and I put those dates in, and I figured, well, if I don't quite make 5 pounds a month, then that's okay. And some people can't lose 5 pounds a month. Maybe they can only lose 1 pound a month. Maybe some people can lose 7 or 8 pounds a month. Too many pounds off. You've got to get some doctors involved. And if you're losing weight fast and you're on all kinds of meds, you better be seeing your doctor regularly, because the dosages of the meds need to come down as your weight comes down. So just remember, I'm not a licensed dietitian and I'm not a doctor, so please go and get medical advice from your doctor. Learn about it yourself, research it yourself. This is what worked for me. This is me telling my story. And if you can find any help from it, that will be fantastic. And I just hope to share all of the things that worked for me. And if you can find little nuggets that you can grasp onto and try, that's fantastic. I do feel that having that goal was one of the biggest things. There was never a diet that I went on where they said, okay, plan out when you're going to reach your goal. There might be the 30-day challenge or the 90-day challenge. And those were always quick fixes, and they became the yo-yo diet because I could never sustain it. We were not taught how to sustain it. Is this actually something you can keep doing? If you go on the grapefruit diet or the soup diet or the cabbage diet or all of these other short diets that are really hard to do. I did a salad diet for 2 weeks. I can't maintain that. That's not actually healthy. Just eating salads. You got to have other things in there. You can't just live on salad. Or I couldn't just live on salad. So those are going to be yo-yo diets in that you go on them, you go off them, you go on them, and you go off them. To realize that all of those diets are not going to last long term. What is the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is to keep the weight off. Why do we even try to lose weight if you knew you were going to gain the weight back? Nobody would go on a diet if you knew it was going to fail 100% of the time. Nobody would ever go on a diet. Nobody does that. Nobody does something that you know you're going to fail at 100% of the time. But why don't we look at diets that way? Why don't we say, okay, I want this to work 100%. I want to lose the weight. I want to keep it off. Once I found the solution to not yo-yo dieting anymore, then it was like a no-brainer. Of course, any diet. Now, I'm not saying this is the perfect diet. This is what worked for me. The regular weighing, intermittent fasting, low carb intermixed with keto, those are a lot of the main things when I was losing the weight. And now to maintain it, it's still intermittent fasting, it's still a bit of keto, it's still low carb. And I don't weigh myself every day because I'm the same weight. It doesn't even matter. So I've taken that off. But basically what it took to lose the weight is what I'm still doing to maintain the weight loss. Like I said before, you can't just live on salads. You can't just live on soup. You can't just live on cabbage. You will become malnourished. And I talked about this in my book, about finding the balance. I went on the AIP, the autoimmune protocol diet, for a very short time. I cured my heart arrhythmia back in 2014. I cured it after 3 weeks of that diet. But that diet has a warning on it. It's very, very restrictive, and you will become malnourished if you're on it for too long. So any of these fad diets, you will become malnourished if you're on them too long, which means they're not sustainable. So I had to figure out what is sustainable. And as I was losing the weight, I thought, I got to keep doing this or I'm going to gain the weight. If you do not change, nothing changes. If I go back to the way I was, meaning nothing changed, I will have that body again. I will be 80 pounds overweight. If I go back to the way I ate 2 years ago, I will be the same weight I was back then. That's just logic. So I knew I had to change. I had to have a lifestyle change. I had to grieve the past. I had to say goodbye to that. I had to say goodbye to that person. I had to say goodbye to that identity of a baker, somebody who made cinnamon buns and cookies and pancakes and muffins and coffee cake. All of those things I loved myself. I loved to eat those myself, and I loved to make them for my family and for my friends because I got a reward of, oh, this is so yummy. Thank you, Wendy, for making this for me. And I had to realize that's the former person, because if I want to stay 80 pounds, I can keep doing that, or I can do something different and not be 80 pounds overweight. It took time to get to this point. It was a lot of journaling. My book is actually created, a lot of that was created at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. I would wake up and I would journal on my phone, and then I compiled all those journal entries. Some of them were Facebook entries. I compiled a lot of those, added a bunch more, put in about 300 or 400 hours into that first book that I put out called Weight Loss Success: How I Lost 80 Pounds with Intermittent Fasting and a Low Carb Diet. You can find it on Amazon. And then I created 2 workbooks. They're the same workbook mostly, but they're 2 different sizes. I compiled all of that as I was understanding that this actually worked. This diet actually worked. This is working. This is working. I've got to tell people about it. I've got to write it down. I've got to make this stick. And once I was realizing my body was changing, and it was such a lifestyle change. Not waking up at 8 in the morning and making pancakes with chocolate chips in them, pancakes on Saturday morning, that was a lifestyle change. Not making cinnamon buns every week or every 2 weeks. That's a lifestyle change. Not putting stuff in my grocery cart that I will be tempted to eat later and regret it, like chocolate bars, like ice cream, like chips, like pop or juice or any of those kinds of things that in my 40, 50 years that I would have put in the grocery cart. Changing that and say, oh, no, I'm not going to do that anymore because I do not like the health problems and I do not like being obese and I do not like the risks that come with obesity the more I age. And there are so many risks that are proven scientifically. When you age and you're obese, those things together are a recipe for malhealth. And I was having more and more health issues. I did end up getting cancer. I had a mini stroke. I had health issues, and I would come in and out of being malnourished because of my yo-yo dieting, all kinds of stuff. And I don't know how many years I have to live because I abused my body by eating so many carbs and so many sugars and out of balance in comparison to the healthy food. I don't know how many years I have to live. I'm grateful every single day that I get to wake up right now and have to live in this new body that I feel like I am creating a new body for myself to live in. And if you've watched any of my videos in the past, my podcast, read my blog, my newsletters, my courses, my workshops that I'm going to be putting out soon, those all are talking about what worked for me. All of the stuff I'm putting out, I just hope that I can help other people. This is such a passion for me because I finally found a solution and I love the body I'm living in. I love the fact that I am healthier now than I have been in decades. I am very, very privileged. I understand that. I know that I am privileged and that I caught it early. Some people don't realize this or don't find a solution into their 60s or 70s. Some people don't ever find the solution. And that's just so sad. And I feel like I've wasted decades of life being unhealthy, dealing with this problem of my sugar addiction and being really hard on my body. And I'm so glad my body is recovering from those yo-yo diets. And I feel healthier. I am healthier. My blood work is almost 100% normal, not 100% right now because I am still recovering. My body's still recovering from being 80 pounds overweight. That's the equivalent of a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old or 15-year-old person. I'm not feeding that size of a person anymore. So of course that's going to have repercussions on this body. I put my body through a lot by being so heavy. If I could narrow it down to 3 things that really, really helped, it was learning about intermittent fasting, learning as much as I could, hundreds of hours of podcasts and videos and blogs and books, all of those things to convince me that this was the right thing I should do. And then, because when I learn something, I really do a deep dive. And then learning about the keto and the low carb lifestyle and the low carb diet and listening to hundreds of hours of podcasts and YouTube videos and the blogs and the books. All of those things combined convinced me that this is what I should try, this is what I should do, and now I'm putting it into practice and it's actually working. Intermittent fasting, keto and low carb, and keeping track and having the goal. If you've watched any of my videos and if you've read my book, it does talk about the fact that I separated out losing weight from exercise. And as I was mentioning earlier, the transform your body, transform your life tagline is not related to fitness because I'm not in great shape yet. It's related to transforming your body from the inside by what you feed it and what you drink. When I changed what I ate and what I drank and tried the intermittent fasting and the keto and low carb, that changed my body. I lost the weight. I got healthier. I completely cleared up my skin, which I had had acne since high school. I had never solved the problem of acne, and I'd tried all those different diets. Finally, my acne went away. My hair is so thick now. Like, I'm just shocked at how thick it is. And I have energy. I'm trying to exercise more, and I'm recovering quicker. My heart rate is normal now, my resting heart rate. My blood pressure is normal. All that stuff was fixed once I fixed my body, once I fixed what I was putting in my body, the food and the drink. I got healthier. it's still mind-blowing to me. I'm going to keep saying that word, mind-blowing. So learning about that, and then the goal setting. This is super important. And if you've watched any of my videos, if you read my book, etc., I do talk about separating the weight loss from the exercise. And this was so important for me. In the past, I would try doing both. I'd say, okay, I'm going to get in shape by going to the gym, and that will help me lose weight. Or I'll lose weight and exercise, and the two together. If I exercise, then I can eat this donut because the one will weigh out the other. And I love donuts, or I used to love donuts, and so that's how I will lose the weight. So many times I tried this, and most diets talk about that. Most talk about adding the exercise in. I'm not saying we have to be on the couch. I'm not saying that's an option, but what about the people who are in bed? What about the people who are in wheelchairs or have a disability and are not able to go to the gym like the fitness instructors say? What about them? We need to have an option for helping them lose weight and get healthier that doesn't involve the exercise. So when I separated them out and say, okay, there's got to be a solution to this. And I grew up hating exercise. My parents were from that generation before the baby boomers, where you worked in the garden, that was your exercise. And you didn't do exercises for the sake of exercising and for the sake of getting in shape. That was a waste of time. And many other situations in my past, I did not exercise very much. Now, I learned about aerobics in the 80s and Pilates and kickboxing and a little things here and there, but I didn't like exercise. You know, I got in shape off and on throughout the years. We lived in Brazil for 8 years. When my 3 kids were young, you know, you're chasing them around. I was riding my bike with them. I did learn how to play tennis in my 30s. Various things like that. So I think I was in shape at some point, off and on. I don't remember getting in shape or with the goal of getting in shape because I was on these yo-yo diets. That was really what I was obsessed with and always concerned about was the weight. Now that I have maintained my weight for 2 years, I had the goal, once I reached my goal weight, I had the goal of getting in shape, and I tried some things off and on. None of them stuck, and here it's 2 years later. Finally, I got my head on my shoulders and realized, well, why don't I use the same technique that worked for losing the weight, which was tracking it, having a goal, having an end date that's reasonable, not crazy, not a 30 days, not a 90 days. It's a reasonable goal, and track it. And then I can turn my brain off. I think it was James Clear I heard a quote of about we don't need willpower as long as we have eliminated stuff that tempt us. This is a paraphrase, eliminating stuff that tempt us, then we don't need the willpower because it's not even an issue. That does work for me and worked for me for the carbs and the sugar. When I eliminate them from my grocery cart and they're not in the house, I need zero willpower because it's not even there. So going the other direction, I need willpower to exercise. Maybe I just make it a part of my life, a part of the habit. So here it is. Ta-da! I charted out a plan for 5 months to get in shape. And for me, getting in shape, we have a staircase or a metal stairs that go up a cliff near our house. There are 280 steps and it's a stairway. So being able to hike up those stairs without stopping, being able to do 10 sit-ups, and being able to play a game of tennis. Those are the 3 things for me that will prove that I'm in shape. My goal is February the 2nd of 2024. So, and I just started 6 days ago, and every single day, this is my cardio. This is all the other stuff, and I'm not making it strict. And this is free. I don't have to pay for any of this. Abs, arms, butt, back, and legs. All of those target areas. So I try Pilates, I try yoga. I do a little bit of running in place sometimes. I'll do squats. I'll lift some free weights, and I'm slowly working up to it. And yesterday, my daughter invited me to go play tennis with her boyfriend and brother. And I tried pickleball for the first time, which was weird because I'm thinking that the racket is longer, so I'm thinking it's like tennis, but I hadn't played tennis in 2 years. And I played tennis and I played pickleball yesterday, and I'm hardly sore. I thought my wrist would be sore. I thought I would feel like really out of shape, and that's because I feel like I'm so healthy, because I'm eating really, really nutritious foods. I feel like I'm able to recover quicker, which is great. So this is going to be a challenge to keep up because life happens and I might not be able to keep it up. If I can hopefully fill it in every day, there might be some gaps, and that's not the end of the world. If I make it to 140 days and I'm 80% of the way there, maybe I can only do 1 sit-up. I'll make another chart for the next 140 days, for another 5 months. But eventually I'm going to get there. When I didn't have this for the last 2 years, well, of course I wasn't reaching my goal. I hadn't plotted it out. I hadn't planned it and made it reasonable. This is not unreasonable. I can do this for hopefully 30 minutes a day. I can do this for 5 minutes a day. Maybe I'll up it to 10 as I get in better shape. The point is I have a goal, and it's not a dream because I'm actually plotting it. I'm keeping track. And that was what worked for weight loss too. Having an end goal and have it further out than you probably want. You know, I want to be able to be in a bathing suit next month, or I want to go to this event and I want to wear that skinny dress or that suit, make that suit fit me by a certain date. That's not going to be sustainable, and then it's like a yo-yo diet again. Think of this long term and realize if you want to have a different future, you have to change now. That is working for me. That's what worked in the past. And now I'm proving it. I am in the process of proving it for getting in shape. I did this actually for my YouTube channel. When I started YouTube, it's been exactly a year at the date of when I'm filming this. And I made a big chart, and it's 365. It was 1 year worth of videos, and I was hoping to do one a day. Well, I didn't do one a day, and that's okay, but I got up to 140 in a year, videos and shorts and reels and all of those things. So if I hadn't had that chart, part of this technique is to gamify it. It's super fun to come along here after I've gone for my walk, color it in. Hey, why do we have to leave that to kids? Get the coloring markers out. Color it in. I got it on my wall. It's in front of me. I'll be able to take this off my wall at some point. But right now, it's important to me. If you have a family, etc., find a place that's visible. This is just a big piece of paper. I got my ruler out, put it all on this chart. Find a place that's visible somewhere for you. Every day, come back to it. And if you miss a couple days, don't beat yourself up. It's okay. It's the big goal, the big goal. So we'll see how this goes. I will keep sharing how it's going and my progress, and hopefully I can give you some tidbits of what I'm learning, because this is new to me. I've never gotten in shape for the sake of getting in shape instead of the byproduct of chasing little kids around or something. Like, to actually get in shape for this reason. I do not expect to have a perfect body. I'm 53. I had 3 kids. I nursed 3 kids. And I was 80 pounds overweight. So I do have loose skin. I do have flabby tummy. I do have, this thing under my arm. It's okay. Anything is progress. And I know I will feel better. I know I will have better mobility. If I fall, I will hopefully be able to catch myself. All of these good things that happen when you get in shape. I already notice I'm sleeping better. Just in this amount of time, I'm literally sleeping better at night, which is great because I have had problems with sleeping. I had a hysterectomy last year, so I've got those hot flashes, but I am sleeping better. And the fact that I was able to recover this morning after playing tennis last night for the first time in 2 years, and I don't have a sore wrist. It's worth eating healthier and drinking healthier. I talk about what I actually eat. I talk about my fasting schedule. I talk about in my videos and in my newsletters, my podcast. My podcast is the audio version of these videos. Find me on weightlosssuccess.co. Sign up for my newsletter. My newsletter comes out once a week, usually on Wednesdays. And in my newsletter, I talk about different things that I have learned in the last 2 years. And some of them are actually excerpts from posts that I put up while I was losing the weight and the mindset that I was going through. So a lot of it is mindset and thinking about changing our lifestyle in order to change our future, to transform our body in order to transform our life. And transforming our body involves what we put into it. You can check out my books on Amazon. I've got the book that I wrote right after I'd lost the weight, and then I wrote these 2 workbooks and journals, and there's 2 different sizes here. And I have courses coming up where I will be sharing even more of what worked back then to lose the weight and what's working to maintain the weight. Thanks so much for watching this. If you're on YouTube and listening to this, if you're listening on the podcast apps, I'm so excited to share more of my journey, and hopefully some of this can help you find the solution. And it's not going to be exactly like mine. The solution for your weight loss is not going to look exactly the same, but hopefully it will help you see that you can tweak it, you can adapt it, and everybody's situation is different. Don't be hard on yourself. Be patient with yourself. Know that it takes time to make new habits.